And welcome to the next episode of Tardis Talk. If you notice, we did get the title right this week. We are so glad to have you. Niko will not be with us this morning, I guess, afternoon, depending on where you're at. He is at KatsuCon, and so we hope he's having fun. But we've got our panel with a new introduction. I'm going to go and bring him on first. Will Wilkins, if you've not noticed him from Netheads, the Smodcast Network, or on Fandoms, Will is on here probably more than I am almost. And so, Will, just introduce yourself, tell us where you can find you, and we'll get started.
I talk too much, and I get to do cool stuff for Kevin Smith. You can find me everywhere. That Will Wilkins on all the socials. How is that for the most brevitious of ways I've ever taken up my time?
Not bad at all. And so we're gonna get moving because I do have to go watch a movie in a theater at some point this afternoon. And so also, Johnny, go ahead, tell us where we can find you.
Hi, everyone. Y'all can find me at Marvelous Johnny on just pretty much TikTok and YouTube at the moment.
All right.
And also, I'm not late this time.
And then David.
Yeah.
Hi.
What the? And then that's like that messed up early version of the Gilligan's Island song, and you're just suddenly David's and the rest. Oh my gosh. By the way, excited to hear about Tony seeing the movie. I wasn't aware you were such a Paddington fan. I'm glad you're going to get out there and see it.
Oh yeah.
You're going to go to Peru later, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I want to listen to the Ukrainian version of Paddington so that I can hear Zelensky be the voice again.
I forgot about that. I should actually look into this. I kind of want to see that.
Yeah.
I'm just Xanatos 1138 on all socials. That's it. That's all.
No, I like that. I'm just Xanatos.
And David.
and David. It's like wasn't the professor and Marianne?
Oh man,
and David.
I knew I should have made it. I should have had some espresso beforehand. Here we go, guys.
I should have had my tea.
Okay, so we are talking about episode 3. This is the and if you want to know more about like the specifics, like written by, directed by, when it was released, that's all in the show notes. I actually did a little bit of extra work and tried to put something together so that we could actually, have a cohesive conversation and not just spend too much time talking about Alex Kingston.
Or, the 12th Doctor from me.
Right. But we are talking about episode 3, The Unquiet Dead. This is the 3rd episode of the revival back in 2005. I believe this one came out in April of 2005. And of course, what's better than having a Christmas Eve episode on April, because it doesn't matter. And so we are back in 1896 with Rose and the Doctor as they are investigating some not so silent but deadly gaseous aliens. Gaseous. Okay, a little superfluid there. And yeah, so let's go ahead and let's get past me talking about it. And what were y'all's opinion? Because I know we had some pretty specific opinions in the chats about.
Thank you very much. I thought it was best to go right in to let everyone know. Like, I was checking in. Hey, I'm finally not having something going on. What's this week's episode? Thanks for being a fan of the show and staying on top of it, Will. And the very first thing, once I found out it was the Unquiet Dead, my immediate response was, let's just sum up the last part. Woof. And I think the Doctor himself best describes this episode in one part of the episode where he says, I think it's gone a little bit wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, it was it was a rough episode, but as far as I'm concerned, the Unquiet Dead exists. Gwyneth walked so Gwen from Torchwood could run. And if this episode serves nothing else other than the most confusing question about being a time traveler and the ability to die, is the fact that this creates a fabulous callback joke when we finally see Dickens again in the Wedding of River Song, which is like the end of I don't even know what season. So, because the
Okay.
Dickens is in the first few moments of the episode.
Right.
So that's it. Those are my takeaways for me. Other than that, it starts the actually it continues the disturbing pattern of a female supporting character getting fridged, just for the sake of killing off another female character.
Yeah.
I'm just
It's
but
British. It's
yeah,
fine.
I guess.
Even though
It's
I'm
always colder anyway.
It's fine. I'm part of the I'm part of the one of the British colonies still, so I can make that joke.
Yeah, but other than that, look, I still can't make a Doctor Who. So at the time I was watching it, there were elements that I did enjoy it, but it was just like, I don't know, I don't know how Dickens made that sudden jump that if we force more gas in there, suddenly Dickens is a scientist.
Yeah, it was a huge Deus Ex Machina, to say the least.
Yeah, but those are my thoughts on it. Other than that, of course, I don't think I cannot enjoy an episode with Eccleston in it, just because of Eccleston just vamping it up so deliciously every episode, no matter what.
I did want to quickly say, actually, did you guys see that Eccleston and Billy Piper are reuniting for an audiobook recently?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
So what I understand from interviews, he won't do anything on film, but he will do like audio stuff.
To quote him, I need to pay the bills.
Yep. He needs the money. He's going to do it.
He said it himself. I'm not saying he's a sellout or nothing. If anything, I support it.
Well, listen, his Gone in 60 Seconds and his G.I. Joe residuals are probably not as lucrative as they've been in the last couple of years.
So and Heroes
for the Dark World.
That's right.
Watch that movie.
Oh, Malekith. Yes, I forgot about that. He plays every single role like that. I love it.
Yeah, apparently, they also dubbed over his voice. Anyways, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Doctor Who. I just gotta quickly say though, I remember when I said in chat, I'm like, this episode's rough. I kind of take it back to some degree. I by the end of the episode, I'm like, I don't dislike it as much as I thought I did or would.
It's funny for me. I kind of feel like the first time I watched it, I didn't like it, but after watching the whole series and being caught up, going back to it was more nostalgic, and I kind of appreciate it because I think I was more Hoovenized, I guess is the best way to say it. I was ready for it. Like the suspension of disbelief was more settled inside of me, so I was willing to go back and be like, okay, this is fun.
Yeah, knowing what I know now about the Doctor, going back and watching it and watching him, this is the first time ish that you see that the Doctor makes a mistake because he's in a rush to fix something from the Time War.
Yeah,
he's in a rush to believe these aliens, and he royally messes up. And that was the first of many to come.
Well, it's the same thing that happens in the first episode with the nesting consciousness, because they're a victim of the Time War as well. And it's almost as if he looks over the potential threat that an alien species is until he finally, later on, he gets to where he's completely callous to it. And he doesn't let that himself affect himself because it's funny because Rose is talking about how we know that this didn't happen, these things didn't take place, and of course for him he's like, well, time is always fluid and is always in flux, and this can always, everything can change just like this.
It can be,
and then you get
the wibbly wobbly time.
Yeah, but then you get to Pompeii with Donna Noble and the 10th Doctor, and he's like, this is supposed to happen, I can't do anything to him, and it's like, wait a second, you change your mind.
No, fixed point in time, Tony. Those are special moments.
Okay.
If it's a fixed point in time, you're not going to do anything about it. Well, plus, the further down the line you get, things get fixed because a gigantic crack in time is absorbing all of these things, and then everything gets reset.
I feel like it's best not to consider the consistency sometimes of Doctor Who, if I'm being entirely honest.
No.
Yeah.
You may not.
But I think the biggest props I gotta give to this episode, though, real quick, is just that tension between the Doctor and Rose, where she's like, I'm not sacrificing this woman. He's like, sorry, one life, or wait, no, not just the one woman part, but it's also the whole they're corpses. It's fine. It's like recycling.
Mhm.
I kind of love that. And I'm not going to lie, I was in support of the Doctor in this. I don't know about you guys, but that was
Yeah, and I get that. Like I didn't think it's just that there's I think so much hell to. I mean, literally they're chasing around bodies and they're like kidnapping them and bringing them back. And the guy's like, "We just got to get through these funerals before we, address the problem." And Rose is like, "The bodies can't be desecrated." I'm like, "Isn't that supposed to be the funeral director's job? Like, isn't that supposed to be what he's doing?"
His character was proven from the get-go. Like, he's very callous with it all because he's just like, it's another one. I'm like, this is a random Tuesday for you right now? What?
Yeah.
But that's it's interesting that he was so okay with it.
Let's also touch on the fact of the blatant chauvinism that's shown in this episode. She goes to walk outside the TARDIS. The Doctor makes her change into period appropriate clothing. But when he goes to go outside in his leather jacket, she's like, "Well, what about you?" And he's like, "I'm fine. Like, I'm good."
This is a new jumper.
Yeah, exactly. He changed his jumper. That's what it was.
I think part of that also was just that like nobody ever notices the Doctor even when he's dressed like in a full suit somewhere else.
Let's not forget he had a giant colorful scarf and just an overcoat of the entirety of the rainbow.
Not to like, used to walk around with
this is my calm clothes.
Well, and not walking around with celery pinned to his lapel either. So
or that.
There's it is true. What he's wearing is truly stealth mode, but more to Tony's point, it's like I don't think anyone's going to question a man in this era.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, now it makes me question how often did Jodie dress up though in her run? With that being the case, because I can't remember the Spyfall where she.
My favorite was the tux that was shaped just like her regular outfit, but it was a tux. Yeah.
I seriously need to go rewatch Jodie's run. I've only ever seen it once.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Just got to get through 3 other Doctors.
Oh my goodness.
Let that sink in, Tony.
It's it's funny because I've been going through it. It's like you realize with Eccleston only having 1 season, and spoiler alert, he only has 1 season. And then you get to David Tennant, which has like 3 seasons, and he returns later on. And it's like
twice.
It's like, okay, so this is getting intense.
Honestly speaking, though, I think when it comes down to it, I think Tennant, the beautiful thing about Tennant, I don't care anybody's opinions about anything about his run. The guy is clearly having fun with it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
and he's the one that's had like truly the most fun bites at the apple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, but that's down the road.
Yeah, and I think Matt Smith had as much fun. I keep seeing clips on TikTok about the BBC prom or the whatever they do the event where they do the music and stuff, and he pops out with
his head shaved.
Yeah, and it's like you can tell he loves the character, he loves the role, and you hand him a sonic screwdriver and you'll see what happens. But you also know that he gets the benefit of like much better advancements when it comes to like CGI and special effects. And so where I think a lot of people love the Matt Smith Doctor, it's like, okay, David walked so you could run and have fun. But let's not forget like some of the best stories I feel, with the exception of like, wow, why do I keep forgetting his name? Capaldi. I think there are some amazing stories with Capaldi, but I think David Tennant had some of the best stories, that we've had up to this point.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we talked about the little bit of this chauvinism. Well, okay. So they run into Charles Dickens.
Wait, hold on. Little bit of chauvinism. As your master, I demand.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Laid it on real thick.
Yeah. Dude went right for it. He's like, "Excuse me, I am above you."
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I was being more sarcastic saying that, but thank you for making me look bad and saying a little bit of chauvinism.
It's okay.
But you're glad I'm here.
We all have our flaws.
Oh no, it's fine. So the dead rise. I find it was a lot of fun that Charles Dickens is telling the story of A Christmas Carol as the ghost appears in the crowd.
He's like that.
He's like, but I also kind of thought it was interesting that Charles Dickens was embodying Scrooge through most of the episode. Like he was very much, and you even have a point where the doctor looks at him and says, "Oh, it's a bunch of humbug," and it's a little bit like on the nose. Like you think like the guy who created Ebenezer Scrooge and the whole, turn for him is being, called out for being the same as his character.
There's truth within our writing sometimes.
Dude, you write what you know.
Exactly.
And then you find out later in the episode that he has to go back and make things right with his family. So he very much, it's almost the same. I guess thinking about it that way, he was writing the story as a way of trying to make amends without actually doing the hard work and going and talking to people.
He was writing his own pain.
He even yells, "God bless us, everyone," at the end of the episode. Like it was full circle.
Yeah. Like you had the whole conversion moment. Like it came the doctor,
Yeah.
So
it's the Charles Dickens of it all. It does make you question, like, what is the relevance of having him in this episode, though? And
what the Shakespeare is my favorite part of that.
But yeah, no, it's just like, I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm like, Charles Dickens didn't need to be in this episode. The girl with like psychic powers didn't really need any of that, I guess. Like, I didn't think she needed the psychic powers. If anything, they could have just gotten around it, I think, with some more creative storytelling. And some
capacity. I mean, 2005 writing, that's kind of how they explain, oh yeah, she that's how she is even doing the seance in the first place.
Honestly, you know what this episode reminded me of a lot of? Supernatural.
You know what's funny? I'm sitting here while we're talking about this, and I have pictures of these like moments that I'm not even showing on screen. Because who would want to actually have a visual reference to what we're talking about?
Because we're just that good looking.
I mean,
I am.
Just feel free to cover over me, man.
Yeah, so we have this scene. Of course, this is where she was in the audience.
I wonder how they actually added those special effects. Like, did they just put like a STL file over her face? I'm just like, there we go, it's done.
Just color.
Or did they like have like lights around this woman's neck?
No,
like, really brighten it.
I think the really interesting question to ask Johnny is, or painful moment of reflection, is the fact that took an entire visual effects house to put together what's equivalent now to easily a filter on Instagram.
Oh, that is so true.
Or like a 12-year-old in his bedroom.
Yeah.
Or that, yeah.
Jeez.
That is so depressing.
Yeah. One of my favorite moments in the episode was when the doctor realizes he's with Dickens and he's just completely fanning, and he goes to the whole "I'm your biggest fan," and he's like, "You're my biggest
fan?
And in what way are you a fan?"
Yeah. No, that bit was hilarious. I like that one.
Oh yeah. Before that, we actually get a moment because they have the race after the hearse. Because we of course have Rose, and I love how like every picture I found of Rose, she's in like a compromising look.
Oh God!
But she ends up like discovering where the body went and gets kidnapped. To which
gets chloroformed
to confirm the whole the whole what chauvinism. The fact that he had no problem just like knocking her out and throwing her in the hearse with the body, and then taking her, just wild. Like Rose will get in weird situations, but that one was a little bit intense.
That was just like, okay, Rose just got kidnapped by a creepy old white guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nobody on the street saying anything.
Nope.
Well, it's either being kidnapped by a creepy old white guy or like rescued by a creepy young white guy, or there's a correlation there.
Or just plastic if you're Mickey.
So we get in, and of course the spirits are associated with the gas in the lanterns in the building.
Yeah, I'm
gaseous.
still trying to figure that part out. I'm just like, sorry, the aliens got devastated. Sorry, so like in my mind, I'm trying to justify it as scientifically as I can, which terrible idea with science fiction. But in my mind, I'm just like, okay, so these are like fourth dimensional beings, where like the time
So,
war,
rift in time and
devastated.
space.
Yeah,
and
Exactly.
gas beings. Yeah.
I'm
And,
just
and,
like, I'm just like, sorry, fourth dimensional beings becoming gas. I'm like, how does that? I'm like,
well,
okay,
that's
I
just
guess.
that was their way out,
Yeah.
I guess, because they had no form. But this is also, like, if you think about it, when you get further down the line, this is the first real mention of a rift in Cardiff, which becomes like
True.
a major MacGuffin that allows them to always bring the TARDIS back to Cardiff.
Yeah.
Them
Yeah.
also them constantly treating Cardiff like it's Jersey, like it's their
Yeah.
version of New Jersey.
God damn it, we're in Cardiff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like it was just funny because he's like, oh, this isn't such and such place, and she's like, it's okay. He's like, oh, we're in Cardiff, and you could tell like even the doctor was upset about being in Cardiff. It's like this place again.
It's like if a Canadian ended up in Quebec.
Ooh,
Really?
international shade.
We have to talk about this later about the whole like thing about Quebec, because the only place in Canada I've been in the Niagara, the Canadian side of Niagara Falls, and I've been to Quebec, and Quebec wasn't that bad.
I've
It's
heard
not
all about it.
Quebec itself. It's just the people.
See, I've only ever
Okay, I get that.
I've been to Canada one time, and I don't think I could have had less of a Canadian experience as an American, because this is extreme. The only place I've been to, Toronto, right, Johnny?
Toronto.
Okay,
We don't say the T at the end.
fair enough, Toronto. And while I was there, I had dinner with 6 of the 7 kids in the hall.
Okay. I heard kids at the hall, and then I'm just like, finish that sentence real quick for me.
Yeah, the kids in the hall. And Scott Thompson bought me what is it called? A Bloody Caesar?
Oh, it's just the Caesar, we call it.
Okay, and I dined on caribou. So, the whole I don't think I could have been any more Canadian in those brief few hours that I was there.
You're missing the poutine and the Canadian beer.
Well, I don't really. I know the Bloody Caesar seems to imply, but I insisted he could buy my drink. I don't really drink. But I did just have poutine in Michigan. I know that makes no sense, but run with it.
I'll take it. Anyways, back to Doctor.
Yeah, I have to go look up poutine because it sounds inappropriate. And
It's fries with cheese curds and then topped off with like heaping warm piles of gravy.
Okay, how is it that heart disease is not the leading source of death in Canada then?
Because
Or is it?
we don't put as much chemicals in our food like
Oh wait, also you have free healthcare. That does take a little bit
that
of
does
saving.
help too.
They actually get out and do things as well.
Yep.
We play hockey and we fist
Thank
fight
you.
Americans now during hockey games. Did you guys see that?
No.
We're just a big side tangent here, but it was America versus Canada at a hockey game, and within 9 seconds of the games, 3 fights broke out between the players, full blown fist fighting. And at some point, Connor McDavid, I think, grabs an American player and just slams him down like that right onto the ice.
See, we have fights similar to that in America, like with baseball games, and typically in the stadium they'll start playing "Why Don't We Be Friends?" What's going?
Look,
I love that.
I'm sorry to get off of Doctor Who again, but has anyone seen the guy on TikTok? I'm sorry, I again haven't had coffee, so I can't remember his name. But he was one of the guys that played the Red Ranger, and now he has a martial arts school in
The white guy
Utah.
who's like,
Yeah. I think
the one that talked about people being sellouts for Disney a while back.
yeah,
maybe.
and is
I don't-
He was also in the Three
to-
Ninjas movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's just had a great series on how to punch a Nazi.
You just do
Oh.
it.
I mean, yeah, but there's many different ways and many variations.
I should really
Sorry
start
about that. So anyway, yeah, interdimensional beings are in the gas.
And okay, so there was an explanation during this scene here where it said that they were victims of the Time War. Their bodies were destroyed. So at some point in whether it's a lie or not, they weren't just like interdimensional beings. They had physical form. And so it said that they existed in this gaseous state because of that. I don't know how much of that was a lie, or if, because I also thought it was interesting because they called him the Doctor while they were coming in through the rift in this scene here. So I think they knew him and they were manipulating him.
I just thought it was off of the psychic girl, Gwyneth.
That's a good point.
Look, here's the thing. Two things don't have to be mutually exclusive.
True.
They could be victims of the Time War and still be a-holes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I was also thinking though, because this is only the 3rd episode of the revival series. No one knows anything about the Time Wars. So just I'm imagining watching this from like in live time, and I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, this makes you ask a lot of questions about what went on during the Time War, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just imagining what the Time War could have been like had I not seen the 50th, and I'm just like, okay, so like, what the hell were the Time Lords doing with like their weapons and everything that caused like 4th dimensional beings to feel the effects and be impacted like that? Because clearly it had to be more than just the moment.
You know, Johnny, I really hate that you're making me reflect on and appreciate this episode. But in the writing, I think part of what is kind of implied is in the discussion that I felt quite stupid, where Rose is, how could I die before I've been born? I mean, lady, time travel, how are you in the 1800s?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like, come on. Put 2 and 2 together here. It's not really that complex, but I think the Doctor going on about how things could be constantly in flux and can change like that. That could also, like, when you talk about Time War and something like that happening, that's the way I almost extrapolate it. That it's that them battling in time, there are those consequences that happen, and like the memories of the Never Was that we get much later. There could be that entire races are wiped out, but they still have some residual existence within this 4th dimension.
In short, we just need more time more stories.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Here's another thing that I also realized going through Doctor Who, and I maybe I'm not alone in this. I feel like anytime there's a movie or a show or anything that touches on time travel, and the term bootstrap paradox is brought up, and someone goes, "What is that?" I immediately think, "Oh, you don't watch Doctor Who? Okay, let me explain it to you." Because literally,
you
Doctor
throw
Who
on the Scottish accent, and then you just pretend to be Peter Capaldi in that moment. And you
break
pull
out a guitar for some reason,
and just go.
But like, even after that, even before that explanation, every episode is like a little bootstrap paradox explanation.
Yeah,
unless it's happening in real time. Like I mean, you even get to the point of where you get to Blink. I mean, Blink literally is like the quintessential bootstrap paradox like episode when you think of what the past can affect the future, which is your future. It's wild, and it's
affected by the future and the past within itself.
I almost feel like if like Neil deGrasse Tyson ever came out with another like theory of like time travel or like how time works, like the stories might be different for Moffat in that, because I feel like they have like a one wheelhouse and they just kind of spin with it.
Yeah. Maybe Neil deGrasse Tyson should write an episode of Doctor Who. Curious to see how that would go. It sounds like a nightmare for the actor to learn the lines, though.
Well, he has at least until 2032 isn't it 2032 or 2035 when a asteroid will probably hit the Earth and wipe us all out.
That.
Oh yeah, I saw that increase from like a 1% to like a 2.63%, I think.
Yeah.
1 in 50 chance, something like that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. All I know is once they figure out the trajectory of what area of land it's going to hit, prices for that area is going to go down.
I mean, it's not just like that area; it's just the mass effect that surrounds it, and like how big will the asteroid be that would then create a bigger impact around the globe. Anyways,
if you see a blue box in the Doctor, just
If you see a blue box, hide in the blue box.
And you
It's
see
bigger
like
on the inside.
you see like a spectral lasso wrap itself around the asteroid and carry it off to somewhere else.
And then next thing you know, the moon will give birth.
Yeah.
Lord.
If you haven't watched Doctor Who and you don't know any of this stuff, you have a fun ride ahead of you.
Can you imagine just like looking like a homeless person and just going around to people and like just recapping parts of Doctor Who? So like the forest is alive, it's trying to protect the Earth from global warming. The moon's a freaking dragon baby.
If you word it right, there will be people that will give you money and will follow you for it.
Oh, that is so true.
Johnny, flat earthers exist. This is the reason why.
Okay, round earther.
Thank you, Deadpool.
Oh man. Okay, so we've gone completely off topic, which is perfectly fine.
I mean, I think we were still on the topic of Doctor Who.
Yeah, in a sense.
It's just like, these writers are paid to have some really good drug trips.
But I will say this, and this is just like laying the basis. We're still in the early stages of this show. We do not have to follow this in chronological, well, in episodic order, episodic, whatever. Episodic order. We don't have to do that because we know that even in Doctor Who, things are done out of order. And so if we ever wanted to skip around, not saying we have to, but we don't have any rules when it comes to what we do here. So,
not unlike their filming sometimes.
Exactly. So we have this scene. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, that is actually
I'm just going to say,
image.
If that's the kind of thing you're saying, then I think we need to write up a show Bible and officially agree what the rules are.
But then if we call it the show Bible, then we just don't have to read it, and then we could just make assumptions based off of it, right?
I was gonna say, if it's a Bible, I'm burning it.
If we somehow
I read the headline and then I guess what the story is. So sure, why not?
We'll just give it generic titles, and then we'll just say that we're going by it.
If we somehow get Alex Kingston on the show, then I say we skip to her first episode to talk about it. But
yeah,
first and then last.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was looking on Cameo, and there is a number of individuals that have been in Doctor Who that I would love to just have introduce the show, especially the actress who plays Gwyneth. She's on there.
I would like to quickly add on very briefly. I wouldn't mind John Barrowman being on the episode, actually. Just say
we'd have to change the rating of the show.
Yeah.
There would be no.
We would have to all sign NDAs, I think.
Well, as long as I have the ability to mute him every once in a while,
I don't think it's just a mute. I think you're gonna need a
blur.
You need a delay.
Yeah.
Ignore that. Yeah.
Oh,
he's a very sweet man. Though,
we might have to record that. We might have to record that episode and then edit the heck out of it.
100%.
It'll be like a 10 minute.
You're gonna need to put two faces of bow where his huevos are, to say the least.
Oh sheesh. Okay, so let's get back to the creepy stuff. Other creepy stuff. And which was this scene, which of course let's go back. We have where we know that they're bad. Bad guys, of course, EU. And then we have them possessing all the bodies. Because, of course, where would you want the rift? Anywhere but, except for the morgue, since, that's where all the bodies are. And, of course, they are decided that they're going to attack and want to take over the world. No surprise there. There is, I was trying to find a clip where it was Rose and the Doctor, where they were trapped behind the cage. So you can see it, because I love the establishment. I mean, we're only 3 episodes in. He turns and he looks at her. He's like, I'm so glad I met you. You're gonna die. My actions are going to kill you, but I'm so glad I met you.
That's love, baby.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Now I'm just thinking about it. It'd be interesting to have an alternate timeline where this is basically a version of the zombie apocalypse, and they actually succeed. And what does that look like?
You know what? Less scary than the empty child. Thank you.
Are you my mommy? I love that.
Mommy.
That's another creepy episode we're going to be getting into not too long from now.
Oh, I cannot wait for that episode.
I hated that kid so much.
Because he creeped you out, or because he annoyed you? I feel like that is a vital question to ask. Oh,
I think it was, mommy, are you my mommy? Like,
are you my mommy?
I do like that the joke is
Please, I'm
recurring
out here all alone.
Yeah.
throughout the show.
It's so cold.
yeah. Well, I'm glad you like that one since you don't like Mavity at all.
I like. Oh, okay. I like Mavity.
They've got to fix Mavity at some point, right?
Yeah, I mean, at some point, Mavity has to go back to gravity.
Maybe
but I
the
do like that it's-
70th or 75th anniversary, they'll fix it.
Possible? Maybe not.
Who knows?
Yeah. But then we get to this. Now here's my question. If Gwen is a descendant of Gwyneth,
Okay.
when did she have time to get busy to have any descendants?
No, maybe not descendant, but a relative.
I mean, we do have that moment with Rose going like, "Oh, we love looking at the fellas," and then she's like, "Can't speak on that."
Yeah, and then she
Yeah.
mentions the bum, and she's like, well, I would. It's like she completely
Well,
take it off. Like,
if-
clutch the pearls.
I will always recommend watching Torchwood, but I always add the caveat that it is not like award winning. It's not like a must see show, but it was an interesting experience to say the least.
No, that's
very very written by a man energy. But Gwen is like the polar opposite of Gwyneth as far as morals and character.
And
That's
hair.
See, look, I obviously went down the Torchwood path when it came to the revival thing as well. One thing I did not like about that show is that it presents a lot of horrific concepts.
Mm-hmm.
Both in the revival, but also it introduced at one point the fact that Jack is in a box for 1,000 years, waking up, suffocating, dying, waking up, suffocating, dying for 1,000 years.
Live, die, repeat.
Yes. And I'm just like, oh, it's like the new modern day show Severance, where there's the introduction of a personality of you that only exists to be at work. I'm like, I would never do that because I would never subject just one part of myself to such a horrific concept. Is that worse than being stuck in a box? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, you still need to watch it if you're a completist. If you're one of those people that absolutely has to chase every last bit of thing down, mess with Torchwood, but it's more adult.
I mean, I've seen Torchwood. I honestly still need to watch Sarah Jane Adventures, though. I hear that's much better.
See, I've been hesitant to try and start Sarah Jane Adventures because it doesn't look as interesting, but
It's a lot more
maybe.
kid friendly. I won't lie, but I hear like in terms of like stories, it's a lot better.
Okay, I'm hearing about Sarah Jane Adventures. Like, this is the first time I've heard about this.
Really?
Yes.
See,
Oh,
I
K9's
knew.
in it.
Come on.
and there's a certain point where you have to watch it as well because it was the one potential point where they changed the continuity and the fact that they only have 13 regenerations.
Okay, so now you're scaring me.
What, that I actually know these things?
No, like just the info you're providing, it now makes me scared to watch the show.
Oh, it was one of those things where it was because Tennant had appeared on it, and
then
this was Matt Smith, and I think the ones with Matt Smith, I think are going to become more relevant now because I have a funny feeling we're going to be experiencing the Trickster again sometime.
Ooh, true.
In the upcoming run.
With that season 2 trailer, it does look.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So that's why you would want to track down those because it's it is the point where I don't want to say introduced, but we experienced the Trickster.
Okay, now I got to go back and find where I can watch these.
Not just that though, I also need to watch Class because Capaldi shows up in it.
Oh, there you go.
Is Class another spinoff, or is this just something?
It is a 1-season spinoff.
Okay, we need to make a roster of all of the things, not just for me, but for whoever watches.
Tony either needs the flow chart.
I need the cliff notes.
Or he needs the big board with all the red yarn.
I will say this: Class
Yes.
wasn't that good.
That's okay. I can watch something bad for at least one season.
You're
Capaldi-
about to watch a bad movie. I'll say that much.
Capaldi also plays a completely different character in Torchwood.
Oh yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Love him.
Capaldi will just do whatever he can to get in anything that's Doctor Who related.
Hopefully
literally
he'll do anything to come back in the DC universe as the Thinker.
Okay, so I'm just saying this for whatever reason. eBay decided to suggest a Cassandra action figure to me.
Oh, sorry. My brain went to Cassandra Nova, not
No.
Moisturize Me Cassandra.
Yeah.
I didn't
My
know there was
bad.
an action figure.
It said, okay, you remember
Is
the
it
magazine I
foreskin?
used?
Mhm.
Oh, we're not gonna talk. No, but remember the magazine I got? They're the figural whatever miniatures or whatever, and each of them come, and one of them is a Cassandra figure, and you can actually get. Now, there's also I know I sent you guys. If you guys look up on Etsy, there's some amazing stuff. There's yarn TARDISes and sonic screwdrivers, but you can find a yarn Cassandra, like
I'm looking
just
this
a
up
little.
right now, though.
Yeah. So
I've
much
seen
fun.
the yarn one, I think.
Yeah, I think I shared that in the group. So we got to the gas-based life forms. They're silent but deadly. I had to say it again.
That is so creepy.
I was a little surprised, and I'd say this before we start wrapping up. I walked into Doctor Who assuming that the supernatural would have been explained as either science or alien, and they did a lot of that. I mean, the seance, they were able to use her as a conduit, but her ability to look into people's minds like psychics, like I get it. There's the psychic paper, there's all this other stuff. So psychics are a thing within Doctor Who. Psychics are allowed to exist, even though
yeah,
a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure because that was the one thing that kind of surprised me.
He'll knock 4 times.
Oh yes.
And that was actually no, not Waters of Mars. The one where the bus went to the desert, interdimensional desert.
Yeah, no, it was the bottle episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And
no, it's not.
And then we got the first reference of Bad Wolf, which will lead down the
Someone
road.
remind me, when was that?
Wasn't that was the part where she was talking about the future, wasn't it? She was like, the metal cars, and
Gwyneth was talking to Rose about the future and kind of went off the rails and said something about the Bad Wolf and just kind of stepped back.
Okay. Mind you, I watched it this morning again, very sleep deprived because I couldn't remember it for the life of me.
I watched it right before we recorded this.
I can see that now. I feel less bad.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of effort because y'all are on the West Coast, and this is happening like around 8 o'clock.
I got a sick kid in the house, man. There's time is a construct at this point. 6:30, she woke me up to tell me her back hurt. So it's just like, all right, here we go. Perfect timing.
I originally woke up and it was like, okay, cool, I can play Marvel Rivals. I'm like, wait a minute, no, we're about to do a podcast in a few hours, and I can't remember the episode for the life of me. Let's just rewatch.
What time did you wake up to play Marvel Rivals?
5, 6 a.m. ish. And then I'm just laying in bed scrolling through my phone, and then it clicked in my head like, oh yeah, we can play video games. I'm like, no, we can't.
We cannot.
No, we cannot. We have homework.
He made sacrifice.
I made sacrifices.
See, I could have watched it yesterday but for Valentine's Day, my wife and my youngest went to see
Brave New World
with me. And so after my wife did not get the same experience out of it I did. Perfectly acceptable. My kid was on the beginning of being sick, so I excuse her falling asleep during the movie. But what I love about it is that even though my wife did not have a good cinematic experience with that film, her curiosity was still piqued. So I did not watch this episode yesterday because she wanted to rewatch all of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
And not the Incredible Hulk?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I was able to recap everything she needed from Incredible Hulk in about 2.5 seconds.
A lot of walking. That's all you really need.
Yeah, it's just walking. Like the only important thing is at one point Banner's blood gets into a dude's head,
and his name is Mr. Blue.
I will say this. My kid is excited about that. My kid is. I know it. I know. What are you talking about?
I'm just saying it would have been very unfortunate if we just spoiled something for the movie for you. David, have you seen it yet?
Oh
Yeah.
no, that was part
Listen,
of the cast. No, that was part of the casting news.
Yeah, and if
Which
you
is
go on
part of
Amazon,
my
listen,
complaint.
if you go to AMC theaters, like right now for their merchandise, they have a leader cardboard cutout. Like there's no
Yeah, but that's the thing.
why anybody would want that. But
I mean, some people just like big foreheads. Just saying.
I'm all
Yep.
forehead, baby.
Mhm.
Look, that was part of the casting news, and that was like, not that we're reviewing a Marvel movie here, but that was my only complaint, is that I was able to sit there and predict elements of the story even 30 minutes into it because of casting news information. And also I
Yeah.
would, much in the same way that I would have loved if the first time when Ragnarok came out, I to this day, I so would have loved if nobody spoiled it and none of the trailers had indicated Hulk was going to be in there. Okay.
or
But
even,
big
or even,
monster.
or even the hammer just being destroyed.
It-
Like that was
it
Or
was-
that, yeah.
Now the hammer being destroyed, I'm fine, but like think of what that moment in the cinema would have been like.
I mean, fair, but at the same
If-
time, the
if you had-
marketing aspect of it, right? Like, oh,
Yeah,
we can market a
'cause-
Thor movie, or we can market a Hulk and
Yeah,
Thor.
they got to get asses in seats. I get it.
Yeah.
I to some extent I would have liked to have not known any of the extra casting, and I would have liked to
Oh,
have
I'm
them to
100%
have
with you.
buried the Red Hulk lead, but they didn't do that.
I mean, it's like I always refer back to like Homecoming. Oh my God, we're going to MCU talk all of a sudden.
Yeah, we need to like reel it back in. Finish what you're saying, and then we're
I was
reeling it
gonna say,
back.
I always refer back to Homecoming, where like you didn't know Adrian Toomes was Liz's dad. That
And
was a
that's
good
exact-
shocker.
That's
we need more of
exactly
that.
what
That was perfect.
led me to this thought, because I recently flew to Michigan, and so what I decided to do was I was going to watch Civil War and the Home trilogy.
Fuck yeah! Sorry.
So I'm gonna-
Hell
I was-
yes.
I was going to take a little Spider-Man journey, and that was the first thing when that moment happened, I remembered exactly I gasped in the theater when Toomes opens the door, because it's just
Mhm.
also such an emotional transition. We're feeling good for Peter. It's in the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a big thing. He's accepted being Peter Parker, and he's about to go on a date with the girl, and then what the hell? Oh,
My
it was such
girlfriend's
a.
dad's a super villain.
The writers of Lost had a great saying for the big reveal that some of the people had actually gotten off the island, and that was that it's like finding a rattlesnake in your mailbox, and that's what that was. That was another rattlesnake in the mailbox moment for me. It's like that is such good editing, such good writing. Oh my god.
Yeah, but then you had to turn around and make it worse, but they were all dead. So like that's another story. But
Or throw Toomes into the Sonyverse with Morbius.
And then back out again. Like it was
after
over the place.
having a conversation with Gargan where you thought it was going to go somewhere great, but
I mean, hey, it's paying off in Your Friendly Neighborhood. Anyway,
Right?
back to Doctor Who.
yeah, okay. So we get this awakening where Dickens is he saved the day. We're gonna go ahead and glaze over the fact, if we want to, that he went from being completely like useless and not even like believing what was going on, to the point where he runs away and goes, "Oh, it's the gas that's the key," and immediately like comes back in to save the day. To which why were the aliens focused on Rose and the doctor, where they didn't care at all about Dickens in the room? Like they just left him alone.
Man with a mustache needs authority. I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, he was kind of on the side and then just kind of ran off.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, after having like a whole monologue of I can't handle this, I'm sorry. But anyway, saves the day. He has a new lease on life. He's gonna go make amends to his family. And then you find out, like, Rose, like, well, aren't you concerned he's gonna talk about these things? He's like, he'll be dead before it happens.
This is the year he dies. It's okay.
Yeah. He's gonna be found in a pile of snow. We're good.
Like I said, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I also going back to the horse and cart, the carriage, when he's like he calls him Chuck, and he's like no one calls me Chuck except for the ladies, and he's like, how do you know such things? And it's like because I'm that's right, you're a fan, and I love that whole engagement. So Overall, let's do this. We've all watched this more than once now. Let's go around and say what our thoughts like what was our overall rating of the show or this episode when we first watched it versus rewatching it. Did it change, improve, worsen, whatever? David, we'll start with you since I gave you such a poor introduction at the beginning.
No, I'm terrible at doing number ratings. I will say I do appreciate this episode more than when I first watched it, but that's pretty easy because when I first watched this, like I said, the first few episodes I wasn't really into it. But yeah, I do appreciate this a lot more, but that's because of outside circumstances, knowing what I know now. But no, it was better this time around for sure.
I personally don't even remember watching this episode for the first time, really. If I'm being entirely honest, I genuinely do not remember watching it for the first time. It was that forgettable, if I'm gonna be frank. But on this rewatch, I'd give it a 6. It's passable. Okay. It's not terrible. It's fine.
We should probably come up with a rating system that's specific to this show.
It's like eating boxed mac and cheese. You have to be in a very inebriated state for it to just hit.
Oh man, in inebriated state watching this episode, oh boy.
Yeah.
Will, what do you think?
The first time I watched it, I would have given it probably a 5, and rewatching it, I solidly give it a 7. But part of the reason I remember, and this is going to be an ongoing theme, so as we get through this first season, when I'm fortunate enough to be in here, my opinion, not you're fortunate to have me.
We're very fortunate to have you.
I would say that the thing to remember is that when I started my journey, it was well off the beaten path of the show's original run. I was at the time binge watching and also actively either working on code on my laptop or traversing in World of Warcraft. So it was always a split experience or a doubled up experience. So the question of the episode quality is usually the level of detail I remember the first time, because it means it made me stop looking at my laptop and start watching the show.
Okay.
So this one was definitely one where I got near the end of it going, what in the hell is going on?
Sorry, yes?
Yeah, which explains why I gave it a 5, because it didn't pull me in early on. But rewatching it, I give it a 7 because it is thankfully hindsight's 2020, and I know some of the episodes we're in for, so subjectively speaking, I can say it's a solid 7.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I will say for myself, part of the problem with trying to rate this is because I was binge watching the show. I was motivated by you guys to go through it. And so I feel like there were some episodes that I muscled through just because I knew this wasn't the reason why you all recommended the show to me. This is obviously not the episode that did it. And so I watched it. I had some qualms with it when I first saw it, and I decided to just kind of keep going. But then going back and watching it this last time, I would say it is a solid episode, especially when you're considering every good show has its missteps or its little stumbles throughout the first season. I mean, you got the season 1, the episode 1 pilots a lot of times, which I really feel like the episode 1 Rose was very much that. It was a pilot, and there's a lot of wonky, weird, fun stuff that was involved in it. And you knew that whatever you may have misgivings about would get better. End of the World was definitely one of those thought-provoking and had a question of what is the future of humanity. You had Rose having the crisis of I'm long and dead, even though she's standing right there. Now it's I'm not even born with this episode. And you have these moments where they're definitely working on building something. And I will say, I have great respect for these first few episodes because they laid the groundwork for Bad Wolf, whether they knew what they were going to do or not. They did it early on and it paid off down the road. And so for that, I'm glad. I'm also kind of, I didn't like the whole seance, like not because it scares me or anything like that, but because it just seemed out of place for the Doctor. But then watching it again, a lot of stuff made a little bit more sense. I'd say it's probably a solid 7. It's not my favorite episode. It's not one that I'm going to intentionally go back and watch over and over again. Literally, I remember, like, I will play Doctor Who before going to bed, and there are times where, like, I will, like with this episode when I restarted it, I went right to sleep when this episode came on. But then you get the blink, and I had to go to bed. I was already like an hour past what my bedtime should be for me to wake up and not be irritated in the morning. And then all of a sudden Blink came on. I'm sitting there laying in bed, staring at the screen, realizing I'm not going to be happy in the morning. Because you have to watch it. So yeah, solid 7. Definitely worth the watch. Definitely pays off down the road, especially like with Dickens coming in, at the Wedding at River Song. And if anything, it helps build the relationship with Rose and the Doctor, because again, every companion has to go through some type of like crisis when it comes to, can they really trust the Doctor? I was just recently watching Pompeii with the 10th Doctor and Donna Noble, and Donna has a full-on argument about, you can't just let people die, and he's like, well, this has to happen, and she's like, no, it doesn't. And knowing how that argument down the road saves the Doctor in a sense from himself, it paid off well. So yeah, I liked it. That's too much talking.
No, I'm honestly with you. Yeah.
Okay.
Now you guys are starting to turn me around on this episode a bit.
Yeah, I mean, not the best episode. I will say, y'all might be angry with me. I kind of feel like this episode, I rate it at the same level as the Robin Hood episode.
No, that's a fair one.
Just they both kind of hit the same thing for me, and it just bothered me.
I will personally put the Robin Hood episode over it because it's still more sci-fi than it is your mystical aspect with this psychic stuff, because that stuff is still, I don't know, to some degree is still a strange thing to add to Doctor Who, but like I think a closer one in comparison would be like The Forest is Alive or the Living Moon one. Actually, no, not even Living Moon. Living Moon's like way lower.
Yeah.
That's just me though. But yeah.
Okay. So with that said, next week we're back. Now we're going to be doing 2 episodes next week because I'm going to be honest with you. As much as I this last episode was not my favorite, I kind of get tired of the Slovene. So we will be dealing with 2 episodes next week. In fact, I have a banner for it, I think.
Oh yes.
Because I even tried to.
It's slightly gas themed also still.
It's very gaseous.
In a different way, but more satisfying. I will say.
Okay, but like very quickly, but like when Charles Dickens came in, like we got to fill the room up with gas. Like somewhere in the drafts, I imagine there was one person who went like, what if they just fart everything out?
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, we can't because we're already making fart jokes for the next 2 episodes.
I'm telling you what happened is they got through these first 3 scripts, and they're like, we got to throw something in to hook the kids, to keep the kids. Because we've practically scared them off these last 2 episodes. Everybody loves farting. There you go.
Oh yeah, and of course you have to do the whole healing back,
and the smile on their faces when they do that too. Is...
Well, if you were a being that was that big and chunky, stuck in like a human, like it reminds me of the whole Men in Black, like the first movie with Edgar, the Roach guy. And which was Vincent D'Onofrio, which I think is hilarious because that's our Kingpin in the MCU. But Vincent D'Onofrio played that so well. It took me years to realize that he was the same guy as the guy on Criminal Intent.
In Jurassic World 1.
Oh no, I'm gonna go old school on you guys. Thor in Adventures in Babysitting.
Yes. Versus
that's right.
What's his face version?
Or also Full Metal Jacket too.
Yes. Oh man!
Wow! Wow! Now I have to go back and watch Adventures in Babysitting. What did you do to me?
I'm an infectious individual.
Yeah. So we are next week going to be doing Aliens of London and World War III. This is the Slovene trying to destroy the world. We will see them again later on down the road. But this is their two main episodes, kind of laying the groundwork for stuff to come with them. But yeah, we will definitely be talking about that. Please be sure, if you like this, go check it out on podcasts. If you want to, listen to people talking about Doctor Who and just, going off on tangents, by all means, wherever you can find podcasts. We also just put a preview on some of our other previous stuff like Agatha All Along and the Fandoms podcast, so that you guys can, if you, let's say you're coming to us for the first time, trying to bring some new people in so they can, hear what we have to say. If you are a Doctor Who fan and you'd like to add input, and you'd like to get on camera, that is not unheard of. We will be willing to, as we communicate with people, invite other people on. So maybe it'll be your chance to get on screen for the first time and talk about something that you love. We would love to have you. And be sure to check us out on our website, which is officially live, which is itsfanbox.com. You will find this episode. All of our YouTube stuff is posted in articles. Plus other articles will be written as people feel like they want to just understand, It's Fanbox is a content platform that is specifically so that people who have opinions can share those opinions in a safe space where fans can really just have a place where they can learn about things without feeling like they're being gatekept. But again, because of that, it means that the information is not going to be as, let's say, what's the word I want to say here? It's not like breaking news. It's not going to be like regularly posted stuff unless people want to do those things. And so if you're interested in writing an article, check us out. It's fanbox.com. You can also reach out to us at itsfanbox@gmail.com. If you'd like to post an article, we would definitely be willing to look over that. But with that said, we hope that you guys have had a wonderful time with us. We are just over the hour mark, and we will see you next week. So I think what we ought to do is go ahead and let's just take off.
Bye.